Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. Just a reminder that this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I know they are hard to find, and I get that. I have a bunch of resources on my website if you need them, but I am not your clinician. I am a psychologist, but I am not your psychologist. So if you need any specific help, please look for the help of a licensed mental health professional. Learn all you can learn from the podcast. Enjoy the episode. What's up, y'all? Okay, so today's episode, I want to talk about comfort with chaos. And let me tell you why I want to talk about this. I saw this clip of this person who was like, I think they were going on a date and they were like, man, this man opened the door for me. They asked me where I wanted to go to dinner. They were here on time. They were complimenting me all night. Man. Dude was a weirdo. What? I legit was like, oh, they're the weirdo in this situation. And not only was I concerned with the initial video, I was also concerned with the comments below. Like, yeah, girl, I need me a bug. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm not going to knock anyone's personal preferences when it comes to relationships. Some people want healthy relationships. Some people don't. Some people have sense. Some people don't. I'm just saying. But what this made me think about was the fact that so many individuals do not realize, one, green flags in a healthy relationship, but two, they may not even realize why they are only comfortable in chaos. So let's start off with key hallmarks of a healthy relationship. Hey, everyone, just a reminder that Mind Your Mental is not just a podcast. It is also a amazing community, if I do say so myself. It's phenomenal. I mean, you get more access to me. What more could you want in this life? So if you want to join the community, if you're not already on the community, go to my social media. My social media is the same, Raquel Martin, PhD, and DM me the word community so you can get details on joining this amazing flipping community. You get more access to me, y'all. Like, I'm a delight. All right. Hope to see you there. One of the most important things in a relationship is nonviolence. There is no way you can have a healthy relationship without physical or emotional violence. Supportive relationship. Your relationship is supposed to be an outlet for you. The world is already tough, to work and school and just life overall, and to do that alone is already tough. I'm a firm believer. Like, I've been with my husband. We have been together since, I feel like I said this already, but I feel like when did we get married? 2017. So I guess we're having a 7-year anniversary this year. My thought process was always the fact that I believe that I am a whole and complete person by myself. I never needed someone to complete me. I wanted someone to compliment me. I wanted a partner. And it's so funny because my husband cannot stand when I call him my partner. So of course I do it all the time. He can't stand it. He can't stand it. I'm like, my partner, Brandon, I am your husband. Okay. All right. Okay. But I was looking for a partner. I'm already a whole person. I wanted someone to complement what I already brought to the table, this fully formed table that I got with chargers and flowers and decor. Like, my table is already fantastic, but I've always wanted someone to compliment me. And that's why I chose the partner and the husband that I have, because he compliments me. I think people need to understand that your relationship is supposed to be an outlet of support for you, because this world is tough to do it alone. It doesn't have to be tough. There are many people who find a way to do it alone and thrive in it. And that's fantastic. And it can also be great if you have someone to add to that. So you want support in your relationship. You want someone to share the good times with, right? You want someone to share the bad times with. You want someone who gets you. And I've always felt like that was necessary in a relationship, because I just need someone who gets me, right? I am loud, mad, appropriate, dark humor, constantly ripping and running, all of that. Like, having someone who gets that is just priceless. And I will also state that doesn't only have to be a romantic relationship, because friendships can provide that too. Another thing in a healthy relationship, what are we on 3? Accountability. Like, you need someone to acknowledge the fact that they are a person in this relationship. What they do has an impact on you, and realize that as a good thing and a bad thing. What I do has impact on them. So me speaking life into them is amazing. What I do has an impact on them. So me being a butthead and not being accountable for my actions and not checking in and not apologizing is going to have an impact on them. Right. You need to have respect by like communicating in an appropriate way, not seeing someone's boundaries as violence. You need equality to make sure each person's desires and interests are respected and considerably met. And I always say considerably met because I, have an interest in flying every which way and only, if I had an interest in, I don't know, ordering a Benz once a week, that's a great interest. Is that going to be reasonably met? No. You've lost your mind. Okay. I may say that I want to communicate. I may communicate that I want that new car tomorrow. I want you to buy it for me. And the response would be like, yeah, that's what's up. It's going to be a no. Who is making dinner for these boys tonight? Like, like, I appreciate you sharing that with me, which is hilarious because every time my son tells me something I can't do nothing about, Mom, in the car seat and just like, oh, I want to go home. We got another hour in this drive. Okay. But thank you for sharing that with me. That's what I always say to my son. You share something with me I can't change. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate that you felt safe enough to share that with me. We will be in this car another hour. But, if you want a snack, I got you. Otherwise, take a nap. You need someone to also be honest. And I would say honesty and trust go hand in hand. Honesty is an action and trust is an emotion. You can be honest about cheating on your partner once a week, but the trust would be shot. Okay, that trust wouldn't be there, right? Those are the things you need just to start off. There are many more things, but and when it comes to emotional aspect of a healthy relationship, if these things aren't in your relationship, I have concerns, nonviolence, trust, honesty, accountability. What else did I say? Support, respect, good communication skills, right? So that would be in a healthy scenario. But if you're one of those people who are only comfortable in chaos, and I will also state that this is one of the reasons why these shows, like these reality shows that are just insane. I saw a preview for a show that had, I believe her name is Natalie. No, not I believe. I know her name is Natalie Nunn because I remember watching her on TV when I was in college. And now she's on another TV show and they look, just like purely drama filled. And people are like, why do these individuals watch these shows? Why is there such a need for drama? And I will state that it's because some people are living healthy, normal lives and they need to get their drama from their TV. And that's what they're doing. I think it's also the fact that a lot of people just like to exploit Black people, especially Black women, to keep those stereotypes alive. I will say that. But I think a lot of times people don't really understand just the aspect of why am I so comfortable in chaos? Why does healthy relationships or healthy scenarios, why do they feel boring to me? Right. And I feel like one, you have to understand where they come from. I think the media, like TV shows, they very much dramatize. They're called dramas and dramedies. They dramatize relationships. They focus on the conflict, just the intense passion. I love you. I can't stand you. Let's get married. Let's have a child. I'm moving away. Like that. I think they come from media influences. I think there's many misconceptions about what passion is overall, the thought process that there has to be solely intense passion the entire time and not even knowing about just the fact that being in a healthy relationship, there will be peaks and pits and valleys, but having the decision to be I respect it, I love and I honor this person. I understand that it's not going to be knocking everything off the table and taking you on the table. It's yo, it's 6 o'clock. You just knocked the baby's pizza off the table. What's wrong with you? Now I got to make another plate. Now it's not the time, you just understand the misconception about that overall. I also feel when it comes to talking about marriage and relationships, I think we're getting through a different time in this now, but the social narrative, used to just be the fact of just talking about just always wanting to stare in each other's eyes. Just look at you. I just want to look at you. I'm not going to worry about work or school or the fact that something is clearly on fire in this kitchen. I just want to stare at you. The narratives of that don't talk about the stable phase, the comfortable phase, the amazingness of having someone that knows you and knows what you need and then provides that. Because there are also people who know what you need and they don't give a flip. They'd be like, oh yeah, I know that's what you wanted, but then you ain't getting it from me, right? I think unhealthy dynamics and thought processes where you are fighting stability and craving chaos, I think it comes from that. I think it also can come from personal insecurities or your relationship with your family where Healthy relationships require open communication. They require vulnerability, transparency, and intimacy. And I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with this or uncomfortable with this, and they cannot provide that due to unresolved personal issues. And I think there's a fear of that intimacy. I also feel as though if you have not experienced a healthy relationship, it's incredibly hard to have a healthy relationship if you have never experienced. How are you going to know what you're looking for if you've never experienced it in the first place, right? But I remember one of my cousins mentioned, she was saying this nice young man. And I remember her calling him boring. And I'm like, you mean the person who, takes you where you want to go, asks you questions, asks you about your life, is very open about the fact that they want to be with you and only you, that person? And they said, yeah, it's just so boring. Now, her most recent relationship was with a mother flipper, yo. Like, oh my God. I remember just thinking like, oh my God, Lord have mercy. Please, 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 please get this man out of here. Lord. So, and I was just like, it's interesting that you think you're not willing to give this person the time of day, but you gave that moron a good 18 months. She had only been dating dudes for like a month. I know what you're asking, like, oh, did you actually say that? I did. Because have you lost your flipping mind? What's the saying? Wisdom is often chasing you, but you are faster. Common sense ain't common. I did say it. Did she stay with him? A little bit longer. They ended up breaking up. She married now. But like, I just remember thinking like, yo, you sound like somebody that I see in therapy. One of the things is also looking at your past relationships, like, and not even just romantic relationships, friendships and familial relationships. Like, you stepping out of your comfort zone is always going to be uncomfortable. You typically tend to shift towards the things that you're used to. And I want you to think about, are you a little too comfortable with just unhealthy dynamics? Because that's what you were reared in. I can't believe you guys are talking at a normal tone. I'm used to being screamed at. You asked me this nicely and didn't negate my opinion just because I happen to be new to something. How dare you do that? Like, you gravitate towards what you're familiar with, even if it's unhealthy. You may also be like, these negative situations can erode your self-esteem in the first place to the point where you don't even think you're worthy of it, which is why I'm gonna do another episode on that and where that comes from. It's your emotional schema, but y'all deserve an entire episode about that. It'll make it difficult for you to trust. It'll make you fearful of vulnerability. And you should also notice that, like, you'll also have a lack of healthy relationships, but it's not often just limited towards your romantic relationships. Like, it could also be friendships. It can also be like work environments. Like, relationships are relationships. It doesn't mean that it's solely limited to, I only have unhealthy romantic relationships, but my friendships are all cool. They probably not. There could be likely places that you can improve, and it'll lead to different things. It'll lead to you sabotaging behaviors, right? Like, let me get rid of this before this person realizes that they don't need to be with me in the first place. Undermining healthy relationships. Oh, I know you said that we always checked in, but I'm just going to repeatedly not check in. What's the big deal? Why can't you? I forgot. So what? And then pick a fight over that. And it may also come out in the fact that, like, you have poor conflict resolution skills. And I will always state, it's not about like conflict in itself. You're always going to have conflict. It's about poor conflict resolution. It's like, oh, I disagree with you. But that disagreement doesn't mean I need to degrade you or talk down to you. That disagreement means I want to get to a place where we can either agree or agree to disagree. But it doesn't mean I need to verbally or physically slap you around. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be with that. And I think if you're not used to seeing that, you're always going to think it's boring. And you need to address why that is, right? I would be remiss if I don't state, like, of course, I always talk about, I specialize in Black mental health and I'm a Black person. I would also state this, just like everything else, ties back to Black identity and Black identity development and the representations that we have of Black people in the first place, because there's not as many representations of healthy relationships of people who look like me in the first place. I know sometimes people will be like, I can't stand couples accounts and why there's so many couples accounts, but I actually love that. I love that there are more examples of healthy relationships of people that look like me. Now, some of them crash and burn. Okay. But you know what? I'm looking at your old school videos because I just love seeing it. Just being able to see that it's there, because a lot of people feel as though you can't be what you don't see. And when you're constantly seeing this thought process or these lies that like, oh, Black men, they participate in their relationship with their children less, which is actually false, or they're not happily married or married at all. You never get to see it, right? So also as a Black person, if you're a Black person listening to this, or anyone else who feels as though they relate to this, I also want you to take the time to just look into your own cultural identity and how that may impact your experience with this dynamic. How often do you get to see people, and not just solely couples that look like you, being healthy? What does that look like? What are we doing there? How often do I get to see that? Or how often am I ingesting media or books or film or being surrounded by relationships that are incredibly unhealthy to the point where I don't even think I can achieve anything else? If you were my patient in this scenario, right? If you were the person who was just like, man, they took me out. They were treating me right. Dude was boring. I ain't never calling that square again. I don't even know if they call people squares. This is what I would do. We would have a couple of steps. One, I would, of course, validate your experience. I would talk to you about what you're going through. I would want to listen to what is going on. I want to foster an environment where you feel seen and heard and understood. Like that's always going to be necessary for healing. Right. I'm also like, my job is always to be your biggest fan. Like as my patients, like I'm always gonna be your biggest fan because I want to focus on emboldening you to recognize the agency and strength that you have and you will need to like break this unhealthy mindset down, right? To identify your boundaries and your values within your relationship and develop strategies to deal with this effectively. I'd probably talk about emphasizing the aspect of community because one of the things that contributed to having difficulty seeing healthy relationships is having that lack of community of healthy relationships. So I would try to look into you building a supportive network that affirms your identity, provides you with a sense of belonging, and has healthy examples of relationships. And it doesn't even have to be, it could be healthy relationships with people who are single and they're healthy with their family. It can be healthy relationships with people who are in your life and they are healthy with their friends, with their partners, all of that. And I would also talk about what you would need to have like a healthy relationship model, drawing on examples of what you need to see. What does that look like for you? Like, how do we reshape your expectations and understanding of what healthy relationships can look like, right? I'm going to consistently review, this is what healthy looks like, this is what unhealthy looks like, just objectively. Go through your previous relationships and see how often you got that. And since self-esteem is one of the things that contributes to not feeling as though you deserve these healthy relationships, we're going to go there too. I'm going to work on helping you build healthy, respectful, and loving relationship with yourself. So you understand that that's what you deserve and you expect nothing less. Because at the end of the day, one of the things is I am never going to accept less from others than how I treat myself. So if I treat myself with respect, why would I ever expect someone else not to treat me with respect? And then of course, you're going to have conversations about communication skills, having hope on the journey of seeing if you can find someone like that. And with me in therapy, I think the biggest thing is always questions and asking yourself questions because it's going to take time, right? Like, let me see if I can probably give five or six questions to ask yourself when you are on a journey of being so comfortable with chaos and you want to get out this journey. And this is something that I think is really important because one of the biggest things is I'm not going to allow anyone to treat me in a way that I less than I treat myself, and having to acknowledge the fact that you treat yourself poorly. And what ways has my self-esteem, the way I treat myself, the way I think about myself, the way I think about my capabilities, and what ways has that been shaped by past relationships? And not only past relationships, also shaped by societal, cultural, community messages about my identity. And what way have my friendships, my peer relationships, my family relationships, the messages I see on TV about people who look like me or my family, and what ways has that shaped my self-esteem? What patterns do I notice in my relationships when it comes to how they initiated, when it comes to the maintenance of them, when it comes to the way that they ended, when it comes to, I don't know, your relationships with people that you're no longer romantic with anymore or friends with before anymore, or even work? What patterns do I notice? And do they reflect any of my early life experiences or family dynamics? And when you're thinking about these, think about it as with every question, think about if you're happy with the answer or if you want to change it, because that can also help you identify a goal as well. Think about your comfort level in relationships. When I think about my previous relationships, when I am trying to take a minute to like live back in these relationships, think about like the pits, the peaks, and the valleys. What kind of emotions arise for me? What is that muscle memory emotion that I have, that I feel when it comes to thinking about these relationships? How do I currently, or how did I previously communicate my needs, communicate my feelings, communicate my expectations, standards, guidelines, communicate conflict in my previous relationships? And how do I do it in my current relationships? And then also thinking about core values, because I talk about values a lot. I feel as though it's not because I'm just like values. It's because it really does simplify stuff for me. And I find that it simplifies stuff for a lot of people, but they haven't really taken the time to think about their individual values. If it doesn't go against my values, and I think it's reasonable, it's not incredibly inconvenient, it's probably going to be a yes to the response. But if it goes against my values, it's going to be a no. And it's just a quick no. And it's hard because for a lot of people, it's difficult for them to say no to things. This makes it simpler for me. But when's the last time you actually thought about it? Because in relationships, I have my core values. My husband has his core values. We have our values when it comes to building a family and in our relationships. But those are the values that we came up with together. Our values individually aren't the same for everything. The core ones are. But there are things that I prioritize that he prioritizes that are different. And it hasn't broken us down, because we need to respect that and also be open about that. So what are my core values? And how did this relationship align with them? How did moments in the relationship align with them? Or how were they against them in the first place? Can I think of any ways that I may have been self-sabotaging these relationships? And like, what does a healthy relationship look like for me? What does a healthy and empowering, affirming relationship look like for me? What steps can I take to do that? Right? Like, how can I draw on my strengths? How can I draw on all these things to have this healthy relationship that I deserve? You deserve this relationship. So thinking about it that way. All right, y'all. That's all I got. I hope y'all have an amazing, phenomenal day, night, evening, all of that. You can follow me on everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Raquel Martin, PhD. I am nothing if not consistent. And you can also follow me on the Mind Your Mental community. Amazing community. We dropped the podcast episodes in the community earlier. We have our monthly book club, and we have conversations going and flowing every single day, doing my check-ins and all that. So join the community. The link is in my bio, Mind Your Mental community. And I hope y'all have a fantastic day.